As I do next week.
Welcome to Telly Talk. Ahem, I'm talking.
Sorry.
Welcome to Telly.
Go ahead. You can go
Welcome to
now.
Telly.
You can start. Are you gonna do? Are you gonna say the intro?
Welcome to
you
Telly
gonna do
Talk,
the
where we
intro?
talk about what's on the telly. Welcome to Telly Talk, where we talk about what's on the telly. And by that, we mean what's on our mind, because we're Telly. I'm Tyler, and it's Pride Month, which means we're watching gay movies and talking about them here at Telly Productions. You should subscribe for that reason alone. And the movie we're talking about today, if you missed the thumbnail and the title, is Novitiate, Lesbian Nuns.
You know, one of my favorite genres is lesbianisms.
This was just like the other lesbian film you showed me from last year's Pride Month. Which
Now this one was more interesting.
means this one was more interesting, I will say that. But they were the same in the sense that I felt like I spent 2 hours watching nothing happen.
Yeah, I get that. But
And then the movie was just
that's all the
over.
movies that I suggest we watch.
You were so
That's
right.
like half of my movie month that we're doing in August.
Oh, God.
Like half of them are just like, am I watching a movie? Like, what is happening? I'm bored.
Like,
But
I
there's-
was not bored during this one, unlike the other one, because this one was, like, really, really interesting to me. Because I like religious themes, and it was just, like, the story was told in a very entertaining way, but also nothing happened for 2 hours.
You're so right. They were, well, okay, the thing that was happening was they were becoming nuns. And it's just a long, slow process.
You're so right. I liked how the movie started, and then they went back, and they showed how she, like, got into being a nun, and then they went back to the present. I like that
Yes.
storytelling a lot. And then...
Brief plot summary.
Brief plot.
So this 17-year-old girl, Catherine, she didn't grow up religious, but she went to a religious, like, high school, middle school, because she got a free scholarship.
Because they gave her a scholarship.
And then she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't really have any friends. She didn't know what she wanted to do. But she became friends with one of the
There was this really nice nun there who was related to her.
And she was like, when I am alone, I go sit in this church and I talk to God. I talk to Jesus. I pray. And this is what I do. And so Catherine is like, I like that. And so she does the same thing. And then one day she feels like she got a calling from God, and she went to her nun and was like, I want to become a nun. And then the nun was like, that's amazing. And to a convent. I forget what it's called, but they're called the Roses. And the process of becoming a nun, which is, there's like 3 stages essentially. There's the initiate, which are the postulants, and go through like a couple, is it a year or just a couple months? I don't remember.
I think it's 6 months.
6 months of,
and then a year and a half is the second stage.
yeah, and initiates, there's a bunch of them, and you have to go through your schedule, and it's hard, and you have to like pray to God and go through the hardship of the Reverend Mother's teachings. And if you make it through that, she has the ability to kick you out as well. Like, you can get kicked out as a postulant. And if you make it to the novice stage, you become a novitiate, which is the second stage, and you get to wear a white veil. And then third stage, you become a nun, and you get to wear the habit, which is like the black hood over the white veil. And those are like 3 stages at this point in time. This also takes place in the 1960s.
Wait, I want to say something. It's there. Let me grab it. It's running away real quick. 1 second.
Go run after it if it's getting away from you.
I'm running after it. Shh, let me run.
Okay, sheesh. Go get it.
Okay, something I liked about this movie, for the most part, was it had a lot of the nuns were really nice, which is really true. Like, nuns get villainized a lot in media, but from my understanding, a lot of Catholic nuns are, like, actually genuinely nice people. And a lot of the nuns in this movie were genuinely nice. Like, the teachers who were like, we don't care if you're Catholic or not, we just want to provide you with a good education.
Mm-hmm.
And
There was
like
like
the
there
the
was
nun that quit
yeah,
because she was being gay, and
she wasn't being gay.
I felt like she was a little gay.
She
That was not
was.
why she
She
quit, but she was a
was.
little gay.
She was. That wasn't why she quit though.
I know. Um, and the only one who was like a bitch was like the head nun for the
The
most part that
Reverend
we saw.
Mother.
Yeah, and she was like a bitch with a capital B. But a lot of the nuns were nice, and that's pretty accurate as far as I know. Like I feel like from my knowledge, a lot of nuns are pretty okay with gay people and stuff compared to like other religious people and stuff like that. And I think that's cool. Um, the Vatican II was interesting to me because, from my understanding, the Catholic Church was like, I'm surprised this happened in the 60s because the 60s is still very like old school to me. But they were like, wow, times are changing. A lot of people don't want to be Catholic anymore because we beat children. I guess we should stop doing that. And I think that's funny
Yeah.
that they were like, we got to keep people wanting to be Catholic, so we're gonna stop beating our children.
Well, there was a when the Archbishop came, he was like,
The Archbishop was such a chill dude.
yeah,
He was so funny.
he he was like, you're still enacting those like harsh like medieval self-punishments. Like, what are you doing? Like, all of us have moved on from that and don't cause self-harm to our people. And I was like, it kind of shocked me that he said like the self-punishment, like the penance that they were doing were like medieval. Like they were, because in the 60s I kind of expected what they were doing was normal. But
Me
he
too.
was like,
I was very
what you're
surprised
doing
about
is
that.
crazy.
And I agree with the bitch mother that the nuns should have a say in what goes on in the church because they are such a big part of the church.
Absolutely.
However, I disagree with all of her opinions on the church. Like, I agree that she should have an opinion on the church, but all of her opinions were so horrible. And I agree with like the things that they were doing that she disagreed with, like all of the changes. Like the changes they made were good. The changes they made were good, and she was like,
Yes.
we should not be doing these changes. But I do agree and felt bad that like the nuns are such a big part of the church and they don't let them get a say in anything.
I feel like
But that's all I agree with her on.
she was crying over not like the part of Vatican II for the nuns was they don't have to wear the habit and they can wear whatever clothes they want. They can wear normal
I
clothing
think
and still be nuns. And nuns were demoted to just like normal practicing
I think
Christians.
that's what bothered them so much is that they were not like special anymore because they're like they go through really harsh lies to be like
Within the movie they the priest would face away from all the nuns and the novitiates and the people in the convents. But then they changed it to they would face them while reading the book. And it was just like overall in the Vatican II impact on the movie was nuns were essentially diminished to just a normal person, which sucks.
which made no one want to be a nun because like why would I want to be a nun and do all of that if I could just not do that and have the same status?
Exactly.
Ever since Vatican II, are nuns now allowed to like leave their premise?
Well,
Like, are they allowed to go outside?
I'm guessing yes if they lived in a convent, but there's also like those Catholic school nuns that like didn't live in a convent. They were just because they left.
Yeah, because
They-
I was
they were walking
shocked.
around down the street. That's how they found
Yeah,
the girl.
I was shocked that in the movie the nuns just like weren't allowed to leave ever, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds like torture. Like you can't. They were like, you can't go to your own parents' funeral, and I was like, god damn.
What if they had the funeral there?
You're right. Something at the beginning of the movie that bothered me was when they were like the difference between Catholics and all those other religions, like the Baptists and the Protestants and the Jews, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
is love. And I was like, dog, do you really think all the other branches of
That was
Christianity
stupid.
and also and the fact that they like I don't know, I thought it was weird that they like grouped other branches of Christianity more in with Jewish people than themselves. And I thought that was interesting. And all the other religions also I feel like prioritize love potentially if they do it right. I thought that was really dumb. I thought that was so dumb. And I was like, that's my problem with Catholics.
What
I thought
else
it was
did I
wild
get?
that one girl who was like, my parents say that one child has to be sacrificed, so that's why I'm a nun.
Oh yeah, 'cause she was like, the only girl of 5 brothers, so it was clear that I had to be sacrificed because I was the one that was different. The overall like themes of this movie, we got like the religious. Obviously, we have authoritative abuse and trauma relating to that. We got being queer in like forbidden and restricted
Queer.
places, and then we have being queer in a religious space.
There's a lot of like sexual themes even like outside of being queer. There's just like a lot of
Yes.
masturbation and like wanting to be touched and like the idea of like, is it okay that I want that? Is it okay to kiss a boy? Like things like that.
Yeah, and then there was also like just the struggle of believing in God, because a lot of the girls were like at least 5 of them were like, does he exist? Like, does I wish I could
I feel like they
get
felt a very
something.
intense pressure to feel something genuine,
Yeah.
that they were very like I called it, as someone with OCD, I called it what a lot of the girls were exhibiting, especially the main character, religious OCD, which is a type of OCD. The fact that she was like punishing herself for like her behaviors is OCD. Like that is religious OCD, is like going through compulsions to correct your religious things because you're like worried about it. But a lot of the girls stressing about it that much is, I feel like the nuns were just encouraging religious OCD, which was so interesting that they're like building an anxiety disorder in these girls. But basically, they were worried that what they were feeling wasn't genuine in the way that it was supposed to be, and that like really freaked them out.
Yeah, because a lot of them were like, I wish I could, feel loved back, or I wish I could, like, know for sure that he was real. And, like, what if there was, like, one scene when they were doing their circle time? I should probably explain circle time.
Circle
When
time.
one of the girl was, she was like, what if God wasn't real? Like, what are we doing this for? Like, what if, like, how do we
And then the
know?
nun, the
And
mother bitch, was like, "Oh, you come in here with the same problem week after week, and you never get better. You're worthless." And I think it's crazy that this nun, who's supposed to be helping them like become better nuns, isn't like helping them through these questions.
you can also,
She's just punishing them and expecting them to go away.
yeah, you
Isn't
can
that
also tell, like, throughout the movie, like, as you get farther in, you can see that she's becoming less, like, less into it, and because she's thinking about Vatican II, because she's hiding it from all the
Yeah.
nuns still, and she's just less interested
Yeah,
in, like,
she's
helping
like,
them, because she
if
knows
if I
that
can't punish
nuns
them,
are
I might as well not
nothing.
even bother.
Well, she knows that, like, nuns are demoted to nothing, so she's like, what is the point anymore? Like, at this point I don't care. And you do
Right?
whatever you want, because whatever. Like, I'm just a normal person at this point. But nobody else knew that, so they're like, we're all trying to be special. Like, you're supposed to be helping us, and you're just, like,
Yeah.
pushing us
Something
away. She also,
that I
like,
thought of
she
was
also, after she says that, she just, like, gets up and, like, leaves the room. And that was, like, everyone's
yeah,
like, what
and
is
that was like
happening?
after the archbishop was like, you can't punish them anymore. So I interpreted it as she was like, well, if I can't punish them, there's nothing I can do to help them. This is not worth my time.
Well, she wasn't punishing them. They were self-punishments.
Yeah,
like,
if I can't
they-
make them self-punish, then this isn't worth my time. There's nothing I can do. That's how I interpreted it.
Okay.
But okay, I have two things. One thing I thought was so interesting was that they weren't allowed to like
Yes.
ask questions, and then if they had questions, they were like encouraged to self-punish, because the church that I grew up in was, as far as churches go, it's not the most progressive. Like, if I went to a church now, I would go to a church that was like very explicitly gay. Like, I would go to a church with like a transgender pastor, which exists, and that's the type of church that I would go to now. My church was like homophobic and stuff, but as far as churches go, it was on like the more progressive side of things. That kind of
Yeah, you went to one of
so
those like super mega churches that like
I
had
went to
rock
like a mega church
concerts.
that played rock music. Yeah, like we would have like a drum thing for Christmas, and a bunch of people would come in with all these huge drums, and they play like snare drums and bass drums, and play Little Drummer Boy for Christmas with like
Yeah,
laser lights and fog machines. Like, I went
yeah.
to a cool church,
You went to one of
and
them
a lot of
Texas
people that I
mega
grew up with.
churches.
We lived in a town where a lot of people were Catholic, and that was really interesting to me growing up, because I had been taking communion my whole life. My church didn't have a rule about communion, and Catholics have first communion. And in third grade, everyone was having their first communion, and I was like, "What's wrong with you guys? Why don't you just already take communion?" And everyone was like, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you have a first communion?" Like, we grew up in a very Catholic area,
Yeah,
and
I had a first communion.
yeah, I didn't realize how many people were Catholic until like
I
third
didn't go
grade.
any farther
And
than
like, look,
that.
yeah, someone we went to middle school with, who went to a Catholic high school, called my church like a devil church. Like, my church was still homophobic and shit, but people in our town were like, "You have a Satan church because you play rock music," which is kind of funny. But the point of that
It
is,
wasn't a
the
traditional
youth.
church that most people were used to. Like I
Yeah,
only ever went to a traditional church.
yeah, and I like that about my church. Like, I think is a big reason that I don't have religious trauma in a way that most queer people do, is that I went to a less traditional church,
I don't
which
have
was
religious
pretty
trauma
cool.
because I never got it
You're,
because of
yeah,
the
that's
autism.
also valid. Yeah, I was gonna say you remind me of like young Sheldon, where he's like the whole family's religious, and he's just like, but that doesn't make sense because he's
Yeah.
autistic.
And I'm like, it's like I don't get it. We're worshiping an invisible being that we don't even know exists. Like that makes zero
Yeah,
sense. I don't understand.
nah, you're so cool for that. Um, so that is my experience with church. But something that stood out to me is the newest youth pastor that my church had. I remember he told me one day that he loves when people ask questions, and he encourages people asking questions, because if we don't let people ask questions, then that just makes us a cult. And he's like, "We're not a cult. Like, I want people to ask all of the questions that they have, so I can like have a conversation with them." Like, that, and I respect that a lot. I think that if you are not running a church cult, that you should encourage people to ask questions. And that is why this movie felt so cultish, is because they were not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna explain circle time.
So explain circle time.
When they became novitiates, they had a new task to do every week, and once a week they would meet in this room, and they all kneeled in a circle around, and the Reverend Mother would sit at like one end of the circle, and she would pick someone to like shuffle on their knees. They never got up from their knees. It was probably like hours. They probably kneeled there for hours.
Because they had to do every single person confessing their own, like, sins, and then also they had to have everyone confess everyone else, like, accuse other people of sins.
Yeah, it was like they would
Like, they were
kneel,
probably in there
shuffle
all
to the
day.
center, and then they would have to explain their faults. How, in what ways do you fail God? Like that's what the Reverend Mother was like. In what ways do you fail God? Those are your faults, and you weren't really allowed to leave the circle until you were crying because of how much you thought you were a failure. And it was like the monologues these girlies gave were like fantastic. They were beautiful. And I loved every second of it. But the first girl, I forget what she talked about. The first girl who went always looked afraid. Like the entire movie, whenever I spotted her in the background, she had the same face. It was just the same like afraid face the entire movie, and it was really funny. After you admit your fault, you go around the room and someone else has to say a fault about you. And one it was
And
like
they got, like, catty. They got catty during
yeah,
it.
it was like one the first girl,
was, like,
she like
designed to
smiled
pit them
after being
against each
praised by the
other.
Reverend Mother for doing good, and one of the other novitiates was like, she smiled after you praised her. like she was, what did she
She was
say?
proud of
Yeah,
herself,
she
and it
was
was all a
like
joke to
proud of
her.
herself, and the Reverend Mother was like, "That's what that was it true?" And then the girl started fighting. She's like, "She broke the you can't like what was it called? It was like
Look up. It's the eye thing. You have to look down.
yeah, can't look up. You have to look at the ground all the time to shield yourself from like other distractions."
I thought that when they introduced that scene and they were like, I started thinking about her. I thought that was so funny and gay because
Yeah,
the nuns literally like have to look down all the time because if they look at another woman, they'll start thinking about her. And I'm like, damn, that's so gay.
exactly. And so they broke that alignment, and so like she had a fault there, um but she had to like punish herself with
By like
what they called the
whipping
discipline, which
herself.
was essentially just like a whip. It was a
You
big
had to like whip
rope
yourself.
whip that you had to whip your own self with, and you would like whip your
Something
back.
that I thought was crazy was the grand silence. I didn't know that was a thing, and I don't know if it's still a thing today. But basically, they couldn't talk from like 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., and if they talked, it was like the most horrible thing ever. And I thought it was crazy when that one girl talked, and the mother bitch was like,
Mother bitch.
"Did you just talk during grand
Oh yeah, that
silence?"
was
And
scary. That like
and
triggered my
I was like yelling at the
PTSD.
TV. That was horrifying, but I was yelling at the TV like, "You're talking during grand silence right now." And then the girl eventually said that to her. Like she talked back and was like, "Aren't you talking?" And mother bitch was like, "Well, I'm just telling you off."
Yeah, that was scary because also when she was like yelling at her, she called her by a different name, which means she like had a younger student that she probably like liked some way, or she either was like a horrible person and she's like was picturing this girl as that past student that she had, and her punishment was to like crawl on the floor, like on the concrete, back and forth saying Hail Marys, which is something you see later as well with the new Novitiate. Oh my god, one of the scenes where that one scene where they were eating lunch and that naked nun
What?
walks in and she's like,
Hello?
wait, what does she say? No, I wrote it down. She walks in. I don't remember why she did this. But this nun walks in during lunch and she's naked and she's only wearing the white veil. Um and she walks in and is just like strutting down the hall and is like, "Please make way for my virginal untouched body to pass." And she said it in such a sassy way. It was really funny. And I love her for that. And all the girls were like laughing at, oh, he left. I'll just wait so it's easier to edit. I have horrible cramps right now. I feel like my pelvis is getting demolished by a hydraulic press. Another theme about this movie is like women in love with God, but it's also women in love with women, which is hard because God's a woman. God's a woman. God's a woman.
Oh my god, I'm back. Hi.
You're back.
My Discord just like rebooted itself.
Interesting. Weird. Maybe it won't fail you now.
I hope. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Um, did I miss you talking about anything?
Did you hear me talking about the naked nun scene?
No.
That's fine. That doesn't matter. We can get into.
That scene was weird. That scene was really weird.
Do you know?
I also thought the hand holding scene was out of nowhere.
You-
Like it was cute, and I know they were just dying for like physical affection and comfort. But I was like, man, that was ballsy. Like, how'd she know she would hold her hand back? Like, that just felt very out of nowhere.
Well, they had been like eyeing each other,
Yeah, you're right.
and she was like helping her and sitting there every day, like feeding her and reading her the Bible.
how does she? I like how she got overwhelmed when she was reading her the Bible. Like, oh my God, it's so hot when this woman is reading me the words of God that she had to like stop her.
She's like,
I thought that
stop,
was
stop,
funny.
I'm gonna puke. She's like, never mind, just keep going.
The sleep masturbation was weird. How do you masturbate in your sleep?
Like a wet dream.
It wasn't just a wet dream though. Like she was masturbating.
You can be like half asleep and still be dreaming. Like, oh my god, I was taking a nap the other day, and I was like half awake, half asleep. Like
Did you
I
sleep
could
masturbate?
no. I like.
That's where it sounds like you're taking this.
I like woke up, but I was still dreaming. So like my eyes were like half open, but I was still like in a dream. So it was like weird. But like I don't understand what was happening. But I was like in a pig farm or something, and I was like picturing the pigs. And you know how like other people and other animals in your dreams make sounds, right? But that's actually just you making the sounds, because they obviously can't have a voice. So like I was in this pig farm and I was half awake, and I was like, pigs make oinking sounds. And I literally like snorted like a pig, like in real life. Like in real life I snorted like a pig. But like I was still dreaming, like I was in my dream. I was like, yes, that's the pig sound. But I snorted in real life like a pig. And I like woke up like
funny.
10 minutes later, and I was like, did I do that like in real life, like out loud? Did I actually do that? Because I remember something like that happening, and I think I did. And that is so funny. I literally laughed myself awake. It was so funny to me. And I did that in real life. So also in your dreams, people can like sleepwalk and talk in their sleep and move. So like doing that
I was
with a
thinking it
wet
was
dream.
kind of like sleepwalking. So, sleep masturbating.
Yeah.
I want to know what she was dreaming about. She never really addresses her dreams, just the masturbation. And I want to know what the dreams were about. I think that'd be funny.
I don't know what the dream was about, but I think she was just longing to be touched, because before that she was like talking about
Do you
getting
remember
with
when she was
boys.
praying and she was practically like fucking her bed praying?
What?
She was praying and was like holding her bed, like gripping it, trembling, like, oh God, I just want to feel you. Do you remember that scene?
No. What?
Oh my God, no, it's like one of my standout scenes in the movie. It's towards the beginning, and she's like on her knees in front of her bed praying, and she just leans forward onto the bed and like grips it and is like, oh my God, Jesus, I just want to feel you close to me, oh my God, and she's like trembling and gripping the bed.
What? I don't remember that.
I'm so serious, that was the scene.
I don't remember that. Give me a
It was
timestamp.
really funny. It was, I don't know, it was towards the beginning, like the beginning half of the movie.
Okay.
Okay, something I wanted to talk about in this movie was the relationship with the mom. Reminded me so much of my relationship with my mom, but like opposite. Like every time she spoke to her mom and her mom reacted, it felt like me coming out as transgender to my mom. Like the mom like crying and being like, you're not old enough for this, oh my God, where did I go wrong, I'm a horrible mother, oh my God, are you sure you want to do this for your whole life? And like the mom just like crying every time she looks at her.
And
like
she's
that's
like,
how
it
my
has
mom.
nothing to do with you. Like it's literally just me. Like it's.
I know.
It has nothing.
Like it
related
felt
to you
like
at all.
Somehow her telling her mom she's a nun felt like a metaphor for coming out to your parents. Like I related so strongly to it, but then it was just her telling her mom she's gonna be a nun.
Yeah.
But it was like oh my God, it was like triggering almost, like the way the mom would like cry looking at her. That's like, you remember when my mom cried looking at me after I cut my hair? She still does that.
That's
she tried to
amazing.
talk me out of taking testosterone over the weekend. I went home for the weekend last weekend for my sister's graduation party.
Yeah.
And she was like, so are you done with the testosterone now because your voice will stay deep? And I was like, well, no, I'm gonna stay on it. It's like she tried to talk me out of it, which was
be like, I'm
so
not gonna
goofy.
stop taking it until I have a full beard, okay? Like, mother, it's gonna be a while.
Well, there's gonna be a while. My beard's growing in nice.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah, it's I have like prominent beard hair now. Let me show
You
you.
probably look like my brother.
I probably do look like your brother.
We could be siblings. I feel like we could get into comforting. The first mention of comforting is when the Reverend Mother kicks out those two girls for getting too close to each other, and then the nice nun goes up to her and is like, "Why did you kick them out?" And she's like, "Because their friendship was getting a little too spicy for my liking." And the nun was like, "Well, maybe they're just comforting each other." And the Reverend Mother was like, "Well,
Mother
how can
bitch is
they?"
like, we don't do
She's
that.
like, "How can they live their whole lives without being touched when they can't even last a couple months?" And then it's like, "I don't know." And then they get in a big fight about it.
I
And
loved what was her name, like Mary
yeah,
Grace.
Mary, and
I loved her.
yeah, she got like mad because the Reverend was hiding the Vatican II from everyone. And then Mary ended up quitting and leaving the convent. Also, the hesitation, because one of the students was like, "Are you staying in the church?" And then there was like at least a 3 second pause before she like whispered a yes. And I'm like, "Are you? Are you though?" It didn't feel like it. And then
Yeah.
comforting became the phrase for getting touchy with other women. And there was one of the best scenes. The so
You could tell that this girl liked women like from when she was a little kid, when she like wasn't into boys like the other girls were, and I feel like that's part of the reason she became a nun. Was that other teacher was like, "Hey, I'm okay without a boyfriend. Like you can be too."
oh yeah, maybe
Like she didn't know she had the option to be gay, so she was like, "Well, I don't like boys. I can be a nun."
same thing, non lesbian, same thing. Um,
Yeah.
Catherine, the main character, she has that wet dream and she punishes herself by starving herself and whipping herself with the discipline. And she starves herself for like days at a time. And one of the nuns, one of the teachers, notice and she tells her to eat. The first time she eats in like days, probably a week, she passes out and then she's in the infirmary for a couple days. And then she meets the new nun. I think her name was Emmanuel. And
Yes.
Emmanuel like kind of takes care of her and like spends time with her. Um, and Catherine's been having these thoughts of like wanting to be touched by someone because she hasn't before, and people talk about it. And one of the girls, one of her friends, was like, "It's normal to like feel that way, and everyone feels that way, even the nuns, even the Reverend Mother." And she was like, "Okay, I want to be touched." And she'd been eyeing Sister Emmanuel, and Emmanuel had been eyeing her. And Emmanuel, I'm guessing she joined this convent because she left another one, probably for the same gay reasons, because she had
Yeah.
feelings for the other women there. And so she moved here because it was
That was
stricter
my interpretation.
and she was gay.
And she like punishes herself.
Yeah, she punishes herself in similar ways that Catherine does. She like crawled on the concrete in the rain, saying Hail Marys until like she like collapsed or whatever. And Emmanuel and what's her name? Oh my god, Christina? Catherine. Oh my god. And then Catherine and Emmanuel start getting closer, and then they hold hands, and then they were like, "Oh, this is wrong. We can't do this," because it's Emmanuel immediately pulls back because she's like, "This is why I left. I can't have this again." And then Catherine's like, "I can't. This is bad. This is sinful." But then one night, Catherine's like, "I need to be touched. I need to be comforted." And she goes to Emmanuel's room and knocks on her door and is like, "Hey, let me in." And Emmanuel's like,
That
"I
seemed
can't do
them
this."
kissing was also weird because she was just crying like, "Please comfort me, please, please, please," and then they're like making out the whole time.
Well, yeah, that's what she's asking for.
I know, it was just odd to watch.
And she goes into her room and she sits there and she's like, "I need to be comforted. Like, please comfort me." And Catherine starts crying and is like, "Please, please comfort me." And Emmanuel's like, I can't, like it's sinful. And then she was like, okay, fine, I'll comfort you, I'll comfort you. And they comfort each other. And it's really
But
gay.
then
It's really, 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 really gay.
she confesses to it
In circle time. At circle time, she crawls to
I can't believe
Reverend
she
Mother
did that. That was so dumb.
She was
She has
gonna do
religious
that.
OCD. She had
She
to.
like yeah, she needed to, because I feel like it would have
I
killed her
understand.
if she didn't. She like
No,
shoved
I
her to the center,
understand.
and Reverend Mother was like, "Tell me your fault, whatever." And she was like, "I have an accusation." You could also accuse people of doing things, and so she accused herself of intimacy,
Being gay.
and she accused herself of being intimate with another sister. And the Reverend was like, "Who? In this room? Tell me who." And she's like, "No." And then she like started crying. She's like, "Please just give me my penance. Like I told you what you wanted. I'm not saying anything else. I'm not telling you
I can't
who."
believe the mother
please just give me your
bitch
present.
let up that easily. Like, she just was like, all right, fine, go do the Hail Marys around the room.
That's because I think
But-
she didn't. That's why I think the Vatican II like took a toll on her, and she like didn't care anymore, because really everything that they're doing is all for essentially nothing at that point, because she's like, why does it matter anymore?
Literally.
So she's like, if you want your penance, you have to crawl around the room and ask everyone for your penance. And she like crawled around the room crying, asking for her penance. And then after that, the Reverend Mother tells everyone about Vatican II, and everyone starts crying because they're losing all of their authority and really everything that they've dedicated their life to in that moment. And then the next day, they have their final initiation to become a nun, and there's only 5 of them left. I think they're started with like 20 postulants, and then there's like maybe 12, 10 or 8, maybe no, there's like 12. There's like 12 novitiates, and then there were 5 initiates to become a nun, including Catherine. And one of the initiates was like, "Where is everyone?" And one of the nun that looked like she had lip filler. I think those were just her real lips, but it really just looked like she had lip filler. She like didn't fit in, but I liked her. She was cool. She was like, everyone left because of Vatican II, and then they go up and they say their thing to become a nun, become a permanent bride of God. And as Catherine goes up to say her stuff, she like stops in the middle of it, and she's like, "Do I want this? Like, what do I want?" And then it ends open-ended as like, as she says, like, "What do I want? Like, what?" And her mother,
and like it's hinted at throughout her little like circle times where she's like, I want to be touched and I want to feel more than like I can just feel.
oh my god, I forgot the most important thing about her, her crying circle time.
It ends with her feeling like she wants intimacy with a real person.
I forgot the most important thing that she said during her circle time, her trauma circle time. She's like, I know this is a sin, but it didn't feel like a sin. It felt like I was supposed to feel.
Oh my god, that was so gay and correct.
It was that like that's the thing that I love this movie for, because that's how everyone should feel.
I agree.
If it feels like you're supposed to feel, then it shouldn't be wrong, unless it's like actually bad.
I agree.
Like if you murder someone and you're like, yes, I love the wrathfulness of murder. If
you're not harming yourself or anyone else,
yes,
and it feels good, then I don't think it can be a sin.
Yes.
Like if you're harming, like if you're like murdering someone, you're like, this feels good. Like, yeah, you're harming someone else. That's wrong. But like kissing a woman and you liking it isn't wrong.
Yeah. Also, when her mother came to visit her a second time to tell her dad died, she like went to the reverend's office and she like sat there and was like, "You're killing my child." And she's like, "I have children and you don't." And then the Reverend Mother was like, "Neither do you anymore, because you brought her here to die, essentially." And the mother was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna fucking murder you." And that was a really good scene as well. Also, before the initiation into becoming a nun, she like prayed that morning and she was like, just give me a sign. Like, please God, just give me a sign of what I should do. And her fucking crucifix fell off her wall. It fell off the wall and she like dropped. She was like getting dressed and she like dropped all her clothes and was like, oh my God. And so that's why I think she didn't become a nun at the end.
No, I agree. This was like a really good movie. I like learning about Catholic people. Like I was watching this and I was like, does the Pope go to church? Because he's like, what church would he go to? Just imagine the Pope just walking into your
a bunch
church.
of churches around.
And I found out he has like a special church. But just imagine being the guy who like preaches to the Pope. Like, wouldn't that be crazy if your job was to like give sermons to the Pope?
I don't. He doesn't go to. He like travels. He's like a special guest.
Right.
But he lives in Vatican City. I don't know if that has a church that he.
Yeah, apparently there's like a church. He like leads a little group. Like he leads like a little Bible study with the other important church figures, and I think that's cute. Our current Pope is so funny because sometimes he does things. Okay, that's what I was about to say. Our current church is so church pope. Our current pope is so fascinating to me because sometimes he says things that are totally based. Like he says things like very progressive, and I'm like, yeah, that fucks. Like he said, like transgender people are allowed to be baptized or something, and then sometimes he says like the most horrible shit you've ever heard in your life, and I just really don't know what to make of this pope.
Also, some of the gay people are like, maybe he's gay because his first language is Spanish, and so he had to like, and like the word he used is like a youth word, like it's a youth gay word, like the gays use this word, the Italian gays, and so they're like, maybe he's like gay because he's like with the Italian gay youth. Where else would he learn this word, you know?
Yeah. No, I believe it. New Pride Month video essay theory, the Pope is gay.
Is the Pope gay? I don't know.
We'll do a podcast on that next Pride Month.
Yeah.
Founding Fathers gay, Abraham Lincoln gay, the Pope is gay.
Is gay.
Do you have anything else about this movie? Because I feel content.
I just want to end this off with reading some of these letterbox reviews, because some of them are pretty good. Let's see. We have, the word comfort is gay. It can be only used for gay purposes from now on. Lesbians weren't exaggerating about how good the please comfort me scene was. I felt God in that moment.
It's true.
What if we held hands in the convent and we were both girls? If Sony Pictures didn't put their entire award campaign budget into Call Me By Your Name, this movie would have gotten the recognition it deserved. It was very like...
Yeah, I was wondering why this movie that was so beautifully shot, like, I never heard of it.
It came out at the same time as Call Me By Your Name, and so obviously gay boys get more publicity than lesbians.
Oh yeah, especially when you have, like, Timothée Chalamet in it.
Yeah, also because this is a religious movie, and a lot of people stray away from that.
I thought it was a horror movie. Like, the cover looks like a nun-type horror movie.
Yeah. I found this movie on TikTok because I was like, I think I saw clips of one of the nuns being gay in some way, and I was like, I need to see this movie immediately. And then I kept seeing scenes on TikTok, and then I saw the Comfort Me scene, and I'm like, I need to watch this right now. And then the first time I watched it and was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And then I went to like do homework, and I could not stop thinking about this movie. And I probably did homework for like 30 minutes, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I immediately watched the movie a second time. Like 30 minutes later, watched the movie a second time, and then I watched it, and I was like, that was amazing. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to bed now. And I like tried to go to bed, but I couldn't stop thinking about the movie. And I was like, I need to watch this movie again. And so I watched it again for a third time. And so within like 8 hours, I watched it 3 times. And
you're so funny.
Yeah, it was...
I would do that with Dead Poet Society.
It was...
No, I really liked this movie. It was like, it kept me captivated in a way that's hard to do considering nothing happens.
Fellas, is it gay to project your love for a woman onto God and wanting your friends to comfort you? Fellas, is it a sin for wanting comfort from a friend?
Dog, these reviews are hilarious.
You know that one guy who wrote the music for Call Me By Your Name? It's like Sufjan Stevens.
I think so. Yeah.
This review says a movie about God and gays. This is what Steven writes about in his music. His music's beautiful. I used to listen to it. The kids are calling it comforting now.
The kids are calling it comforting now, considering this place in 1964, which is how many years ago?
And a kid
74,
probably
84,
commented
94, oh, 14. It's 60 years
The
ago.
only real flaw about this film is that the nun's eyebrows are too perfect.
You right.
Sexually repressed nuns and lesbianism's gotta be my favorite genre.
Dog, that's a summary of the movie. That's a good review, because it actually tells you what the movie's about. The whole movie is about sexually repressed nuns and lesbianism.
Nuns scare me, but these convent lesbians transcend another dimension only for the gays.
Damn right. I was so sad that the Mary one just,
Me too.
left, because she was my favorite. She was so nice.
I want to know who wanted to watch this movie not knowing it was gay. Like, who would choose to watch this movie?
Thinking it's a religious movie.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a homophobe Catholic just, ooh,
Being
they
like,
made a
"Oh,
movie
yeah."
about nuns.
Like, I want to see what the process of becoming a nun is. Like, yeah.
I want to show this to my mother.
Just be like, oh my god, I didn't even know this was. I haven't seen this before. Sorry.
Did this movie make you want to be a nun?
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about how movies,
Yeah.
make you...
Like, strong movies. Like, this is a strong movie. It's not necessarily if the message is strong, it's just if they're pushing. If they just have, like, strong feelings. In, like, Little Women and Dead Poet Society and The Novitiate, these all have strong feelings. And they make me fall into the mindset of the main character in some way. What would you rate
Who was
it?
your favorite character?
Well, my favorite character was, Sister
I liked
Mary.
Mary.
And I also like the nun with that looks like she has lip filler.
Alright.
And I also liked Sister Emmanuel. I also
Me
liked
too. How would
the
you...
girl who looked afraid, like, all the time. That was really funny.
Me too. I liked the random blonde girls who had each had 5 lines. They were all
Yeah.
fun. What would you rate this movie?
I would rate it... I'm definitely gonna rate it higher than you. I would rate it a 4.5.
I'm giving it a 4. I liked it. But it was a little boring, but 4 is a very high rating for a movie I'm calling a little boring because it was really good.
Yeah, if you're a lesbian, you're gonna love this movie.
I think I'm giving it a less rating because I'm a man, but it was really good.
Yeah. It was great. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. Our Prime Month videos are in the description. Just definitely go check them out. We got...
Oh my god, we watched a
Stuff.
boy movie and a girl movie. Today, Dead Poet Society is a boys only school, and there's one girl in the entire movie, and then this was a girls only school with one man in the entire movie.
Yep.
Wow, we really balanced out the genders.
And we're gonna do that with Iron Claw and Little Women as well.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Peace out,
listening.
YouTube.
Goodbye.
Watch all our other Pride Month videos.
Do it.